if I can get all of those questions in.
I'll make it simple. When should the end-of-end test been started?
There's never enough testing, for sure.
When did it occur?
But it occurred the last 2 weeks in September.
So you think that's an adequate time frame for a system this mammoth with 1/6 of the nation's economy and millions of people coming into it? Did that give your company adequate time to make sure everything was integrated and going to work?
It would have been better to have more time.
And how much more time would you have preferred to have?
I don't have an exact date.
Did you make any recommendations to CMS about the need for end-to-end testing to occur sooner than the last 2 weeks before this whole thing went live?
I did not, but I could check.
Did anyone in your company make a recommendation?
I'd have to go back and
I'd like to know that. Mr. Slavitt?
Yes, ideally, integrated testing would have occurred well before that did.
How far in advance of a major website coming online?
Sure. Well, with enough time to correct flaws before they begin. I couldn't give you an exact date.
Do you do any work for anybody else outside of CMS where end-to-end testing is required?
Yes.
And in those situations, are those commercial situations or government?
Both.
And in those situations, what's the standard protocol? What's the recommended industry standard for end-to-end tests before rolling up a major website like this?
Months would be nice.
Months would be nice. Ms. Campbell, is that accurate for your company as well?
That's correct.
And you were given 2 weeks, and yet months would have been nice. Is that what, I mean, if you were to do a contract for a system like this, what would you ask for in terms of doing the end-to-end test? Do you have standard industry recommendations?
So we weren't given 2 weeks. That was CMS who decided to conduct the tests in that 2 week time period. It wasn't ourselves doing the intent.
Well, I think that's correct. But okay, as a vendor, and you want your company to come out of this looking good, not getting to spend your time with us as much as I'm sure you're enjoying it. But what should have the industry standard called for here? Have you ever undertaken bringing up a website, being a part of something this big, affecting this many people's lives?
I would say more
yes
testing.
Or no? Have you ever done one this big?
Of this complexity.
Correct.
I testified that this is by far, I think, the most complex in our country in a very long time.
And I think you're right. That's what I'm trying to get. Where should the end-to-end test have been done? If your company could have made that decision, what would you have made a recommendation for the complete integrated end-to-end testing to begin? When should that have started?
We would have loved to have had months to do.